Alright, today we're going to do the saddle. We've got the horse body pretty well blocked out. Okay, now I mentioned yesterday that this was going to be what's called an A-fork saddle. And that's because of the way it's constructed up front here. Alright, saddles come in all different shapes and sizes, and I got out some reference material just to go over it with you. Now this is from a Old Time Life Series book on the Old West. This is the volume of the Cowboys. If you're interested in cowboys and you go to a flea market, you might look for some of these books because generally you'll find them in a flea market. Someone will be selling them. Anyway, they're great for reference material. So just to talk about the saddle for a moment. This is an Old West saddle here. This is probably the kind that, probably is the kind that the cowboy used when he was out in the field. It's double rigged. It's got a front cinch and a back cinch. And it's got a deep seat, what they call a deep seat here. It's got a high back seat back here on the back on the cantle. And up front here, this is an A-fork. There's no swells up front. Now by swells, what I mean by swells is, let me find another photograph here. Alright, these are swells. This is what they call a swell. This is a thing that the cowboy can lock his legs around if the horse bucks. Now an A-fork saddle, like this one here, doesn't have swells, but there's a good picture of one. These are A-fork saddles. Like I say, they don't have swells. They're pretty smooth. But you can buy what are called bucking rolls. This is a bucking roll. I had one of these on my saddle because I really like the old style saddle. But anyway, these screw onto the saddle on each side, and they act as a swell to where, again, you know, if your horse starts acting up or you're going fast down a hill or something and you need a little extra holding power to keep you in your saddle, these things will sort of lock around your legs and keep you in place. Where if they were gone, you know, there's nothing there to keep you from just sliding right off the front of the saddle. They come in handy. Okay, so anyway, this one, these are fenders, what they call fenders here. And in this saddle, the stirrups and the fenders and the strapping goes clear up over the top of the saddle, to where on a newer style saddle, it generally goes underneath the skirting, like here. Alright? Then we come on down to the stirrup. So like I say, they come in all shapes and sizes. You have the rounded skirts back here and the square skirts and tooling and untooling. The shape of the saddle is determined by the tree. Now this is a article I took out of Western Horseman magazine back in 1997, and it really explains the saddles real well. Anyway, the tree is just pieces of wood, nowadays fiberglass generally, made up, put together, covered with rawhide, and then the leather is built on top of that. You have the front fork or swell, you have the horn which goes up there on top, the back cantle, and the two bars on each side. Okay? And this is what they look like when they're all put together. Now this is an A-fork saddle again. And looking back here, I was mentioning different styles of saddles. Now this saddle up here, this has swells, like I mentioned. See how they're curved up and around there to where you can lock your legs around them. Now here's one that really has large swells. Now, you'll never see an experienced rider ride a saddle like this, because these can be dangerous. Because if you lock your legs up under there and that horse gets really rambunctious, these swells can actually break your legs, and you don't want that by any means. But anyway, like I was saying, saddles come in all shapes and sizes, and it's just up to the rider to determine, what he wants. Now on the back seat here, this is a high back seat, to where this one up here is what they call a Cheyenne roll, to where instead of going all up the way to the top like this one is, it goes up about 3/4 of the way, and then it's rolled over on the back here, where you can actually slip your hand underneath there to pick that saddle up. That might be one of the reasons why it's done that way, I don't know. But anyway, all I do know is that a high back seat like this here will hold you in place a lot more comfortably than this one up here. And if you're going to sit in your saddle all day long like these cowboys did, you want something that's comfortable. Now this is a real good picture of the saddle, A-fork saddle. You can see how there's no swell on that whatsoever. It's just a rounded curve up there, and that's why it's called an A-fork, because it just comes up like an A and goes back down. And this is open. There's an open area in between here. That's open. And this saddle is open. It's not closed, although the top skirting goes all the way across the top. The saddle itself is divided into two parts underneath to allow circulation, air circulation, to go in there between that saddle and the horse. All right? Because those horses get pretty hot underneath that saddle. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to do a fairly simplified saddle. This one here, it's got square skirting on it, a little bit of curve here, and it's got a blanket underneath there. You always want to put a blanket underneath your saddle. Okay? So, to start off, what we're going to do is we're just going to lightly outline our blanket here. Go across the top. Alright, now our saddle is going to come up to about here, and then go on loop, and then back here. And we'll do that now. So I'm just going to come up here like this. Right there. Right there. We don't have to get real detailed on this saddle. As long as we get the proper parts in the proper place, it's going to look like a saddle. Just like the anatomy of a horse, as long as you indicate the proper parts in their proper place, it's going to look like a horse. There, we got that side pretty well lined out. Now we bring this up and do this side over here. And keep these things even on each side. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself up here, because before I finish carving this upper part of the swells, I want to go over and drill a hole in it with a horn. So right now that's about as far as I want to go up there. Now back here on the back for the the seat will do the same thing. But you can carve any kind of saddle you want on your horse. Just go to Google and search for saddles and you'll find all kinds of them. That's good. Now I can thin out the back of that saddle. See, that's looking pretty slick right now. I'm going to stop here for just a minute and go get me another knife. Alright, I went and got me another knife. You'll see this one here. This one's straight across. This one has a curve up to it. Now the reason I'm switching is because I want to dish this out in here just a little to make it look more like a seat instead of being just straight across. And with this curved tip, I can do that. Doesn't have to be much, but it does have to be some. There, that looks good. Just clean everything up back here. Look at it, make sure I got everything even. Looks pretty good, I think. So, like a log fell in my fireplace there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw on my first skirting here, right here. I've already indicated, remember the last video we just came down like that, so there's that. So I'm going to take that down to there, kind of run that across to there. Back here I'm going to draw a new line, just like that, see? Just a little bit back from the seat there. And I go on across. And on the other side, do the same thing. Make sure you get it the same distance down. All right. Okay. front here. Now this isn't exactly accurate, but this is a caricature, so we're not really concerned about, being spot on accuracy. But the parts are there. That's the important thing. Again, as long as the parts are there, it's going to be okay. So now we're going to go ahead and do this side. Do this side. Sure we got her even. That looks good. Okay, now checking everything out here. Whoops, forgot one line. Let's draw the cinch in. The cinch. Find a picture of a cinch. These are on our horse, so it's hard to see its cinch. There you can see it, right there. Okay, this goes from your cinch strap to the cinch. Runs down underneath the horse and up the other side. So let's go ahead, and it comes in right behind this leg. So let's just draw a straight line there, and a straight line down there. Across here, right across his belly, up the other side, just like that, okay? Now this overlaps these two things, okay? As you'll see. So right now, remember back on one of the videos I was showing you how you carve down on a buckle? Like you start with if you have a belt buckle or a gun strap or something like that, you start with the high piece, then you just step it down as you go down through the detail. Like on a belt buckle, it would be a gun holster over a belt buckle, over jeans or whatever. You'd start with the highest one, which would probably be the gun holster strap, and then you go down to the belt buckle beneath it that's holding up the fellow's pants. Then you go down a little bit more to the chaps if he's wearing chaps, and you go down a little bit more to the jeans, and you just keep stepping it down. Well, here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the upper part here, curved part, and we're stepping it down. Then we're going to do the cinch. Then we're going down to the next level, which is the skirting, and then we're going down to the next level, which is the blanket. So my knife, I'm just going to outline this, and as you're doing the outline, make sure you don't go straight in, but that you keep your knife point angled down toward the bottom of the horse. And this will keep your edge from crumbling when you carve up to it. just like that. See? Some of these pencil lines off of here. Just like that. Alright, now we turn it around and we take one more look. Make sure everything's square. And we do the same thing here. And again, keep her knife edge slanted down. Sorry if you can't see what I'm doing. There. Doesn't have to be deep, just so there's a line there for separation. Remember, in scale, the thickness of this the thickness of this leather is be extremely thin. Okay, we got that side. Now the next step is to do the cinch. Now when I add the fenders on later, this part here, we're going to carve away almost all this detail that I'm putting in here right now on each side. But that's okay. We're going to put it in there anyway, so we know and understand the construction of our horse's saddle that we're putting on. Alright, so now we're going to do the cinch. Now I just come down here and follow that down, straight down. We're not worrying about cinch detail right up in here, because that's going to be completely hidden by our fender. So I'll go right across the bottom. I'm not going to carve this line across here because we'll just burn that in. Take that, bring that right on around and up the other side to right there. Take this one down to there. Okay, now we just lightly go in and take that out. Again, you don't need to take a lot out. Alright, now we do the skirting. Let me get it prepared up here. Let me get rid of all these saw marks. right up here. Start just a little bit back, because this skirting, like I showed you earlier, is in two pieces right here. So we want to have our skirting in two pieces. So I'm not going to cut all the way across here. I'm just going to start about right here. Just go down in the line right there. Again, angle your knife down to there. The wind's a howling out there. That side, now we'll do this side over here. Angle your knife down. There. So now we got that side done. Now we flip it over, and again, starting back from the middle a little bit, go down this side, over, keep it angled down, up to meet the other side. Looks pretty good. Alright, now this area right here, it's an A-fork saddle. And bring this up like that. Now, so this is an A-fork saddle. Well, this has swells on it. That's okay. I'm going to carve these off. I just wanted to left those on there to keep strength into this piece of wood. Now I want to carve through that little area right there and take it out. But before I do that, I want to drill me a hole right here for my horn. Okay, so I'm going to get the drill and we'll do that right now. Alright, it's got my 1/8 inch drill in here. Okay, and I'm just going to drill a hole right down the center of this. Just like that. Okay, You want to drill it now. You don't want to drill it later on after you've carved your saddle. The whole thing just might collapse in on it, and that wouldn't be good. So now I'm just going to dig this in here. And take that out. Notice I'm doing it aslant like that. And I'll just come in straight. Like that. See there, we got that little opening in there. Looks slick, huh? Now we're going to do it from the front. Same way. And if you're lucky, it'll go all the way through. And what do you know, it went all the way through. Anyway, I'll clean that up later. Okay, so now we got that all the way through. See there? Hope you can see the daylight through there. It's alright jerking this thing all around. Okay, so let's just leave that now. We're finished with that area. And this video is getting a little long, so let's go ahead and redraw our blanket on. Get this thing wrapped up. It's lunchtime. We're not doing anything different with this blanket than we haven't done already. There's our blanket. So just come straight across here, like that. Straight across here, like that. While I'm up here, remember we didn't go all the way through? Okay, we're going to indicate that this saddle is in two parts right now. Just by sticking a little V in there like that on that side and a little V in here on this side. And then taking out a little notch right there. Okay, now that saddle's in two parts. And again, we'll clean that up later. Alright, now, for my little horses, I always make 3 lines across here on the saddle blanket. And the reason I do that is it gives me an opportunity to make 3 separate colors. I put 3 in the back. That, and 3 in the front. So there. Now, I'll go back. I'll do this in a little bit, but you don't need to see that because I showed you how to do that here, and this video is getting long. So anyway, there we go. Now, in the next video, what we will do is, I think we'll start on the head, because I don't want to put these fenders on here until the horse is completely together, except for the fenders, because that'll be a fragile exercise, at least until we get them glued on, and I don't want to risk breaking it while I'm sticking the head on and tail and everything else. Okay, so in the next video we'll start on that head.